everyone. We are going to be talking about New York, the Christmas Spectacular tonight, and we will also touch on the New York Fall Tour. So everyone is on mute, and you might like to ask a question or two during the presentation. So feel free to type your questions into the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. If you've joined us from Facebook, you can type your questions into the comments section, and we welcome them at any time throughout the presentation. And we will answer all the questions at the end. And throughout the presentation, we will be conducting a couple of pop-up polls, asking for your participation by making a simple selection. If you are viewing on Facebook, the polls will not pop up, so please type your response into the comment section. Your input is greatly appreciated and will help us moving forward with future presentations and tour planning. And here is our first pop-up poll. Please let us know if you would like to sign up for our newsletter. So I'll just get that going here. Okay, so you'll receive invites to future presentations as well as timely information on new tours. You won't be inundated with emails, and you can unsubscribe at any time. There may be a few more emails than normal right now as we keep everyone up to date with our virtual presentation series. And if you are getting our emails already, you can just let us know. Looks like a lot of you are already. You can also sign up for our Women Explorers tour or both. We have our Women Explorers division as well. Just let everyone finish that there. Okay, perfect. All right. So a little bit about Westworld Tours. We are Western Canada's premier motor coach touring company. Westworld Tours has been serving Canadians from coast to coast with escorted travel throughout North America and around the world since 2000, celebrating our 20th anniversary last year. We offer quality components to all tours, including modern, comfortable coaches, professional tour directors, experienced, courteous drivers, baggage handling, and excellent accommodations. Our tours include all the sites and attractions important to our clients, and we also provide several meals throughout the tour. Thousands of passengers have chosen Westworld Tours' first-class style of motor coach touring, enjoying the great value, security, stress-free environment, all while making new friendships along the way. We receive a high level of satisfaction from our passenger surveys, and I know our tour directors love seeing familiar faces on the tours. And like I said, we love hearing from our passengers. So these are just a couple reviews that were left. One of them was by Marnie. She said, "Great tour, we got to see and experience a lot. Westworld had everything planned and organized so we could see and do as much as we could in the time we had." And from Shirley, she said it was an ideal way to travel at her age. She still had free time to explore, and she went with her 2 daughters, and it was such a bonding trip. Would go again in a heartbeat. Okay, and as everyone knows, COVID-19 has turned the world upside down, with travel impacted as much or more than any other industry. With the health and safety of our travelers and staff being our highest priority, we are continually monitoring the situation, having canceled all tour departures until the end of August. And with that, we understand that your money trusted in us may be better used for other things at this time. And to respect that, we have refunded everyone booked on a canceled tour. It doesn't feel right issuing future travel credits. After all, it is your money, and you should decide when and where you want to travel, not us. As we mentioned, when the world was turned upside down, Westworld Tours was there for you by ensuring all canceled tours were refunded in full. We want you, our guests, to experience the best, and just as we were there for you in the beginning, we will be there for you once again, ready to welcome you back on board. Our priority here at Westworld Tours is to ensure the safety of our guests and staff while exploring, experiencing, and creating lifelong memories. With your welfare being top of mind, we have enriched our already robust health and safety protocols, giving you that much-needed confidence to travel once again. And with that being said, we are anticipating we won't be traveling until everyone is fully vaccinated, but in the meantime, we are making sure that we have all the protocols in place and doing the extras to keep everyone safe. And just again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And we hope you have enjoyed our presentation series thus far and hope you will continue to join us as we continue. For the month of August, we will be talking about our Women Explorers collection. So August 4th, we will hear from Cindy and a special guest about our Women Explorers Portugal and Spain tour. And on August 18th, we will hear about our Andes to the Amazon tour in Peru. And now I am pleased to introduce you to Coral Carpenter-Romanchuk. Coral has been with Westworld Tours for over 20 years and brings a wealth of knowledge to her role as Senior Tour Director, having traveled the globe extensively herself. I will turn it over to you, Coral.
Great. Thank you so much, Leanne. And thank you to everyone for joining us this evening. We're so glad to have you here with us on this summer evening. I'm saying hello to you from my home up in Churchill, Manitoba. It's a beautiful night here as well. So, so pleased to have you here. And I'm really happy to be here tonight sharing with you a little bit about New York City and the tours that Westworld offers. It's a really great destination. And I'm actually going to share with you a few of the reasons why I like New York so much. And I really do. There's just a small handful of cities, to be honest with you, in the US that I really like, along with cities like San Antonio and New Orleans. New York City is one that I personally really have a true appreciation for. And I'll tell you in a moment some of my reasons for that. But those of you who have seen some of my presentations before know that I really like fun facts, and I like to share some interesting little tidbits with you throughout the presentation. We have time to do that tonight. So how about a few little fun tidbits about New York City, just to start. First of all, a little over 8 million people live in New York City, 5 boroughs that make up New York City itself. We'll touch on those 5 boroughs a little later, but by far that makes it the largest city by population in the US, no question about that. There are over 800 different languages spoken in New York City, which I thought was really interesting. That makes it the most linguistically diverse city, not just in the country, but in the world, in fact. So that's rather interesting too. Some of you no doubt know this, but it was called New Amsterdam initially. It was settled by the Dutch back in the 1600s. It's also interesting that in Brooklyn, there's still a house standing today that dates from the 1600s when it was under the Dutch. That's in Brooklyn, and today that's a museum. So the Dutch first settled in the year 1624, and then 2 years later, it became the colony of New Amsterdam. So there you go. New York City was also the first capital of the United States, and that happened in 1789. And it was also the location of George Washington's inauguration. So that's just a few little fun facts about the city. And now to get down to business, we're going to talk a bit tonight about the fall tour that Westworld offers to New York, and we're going to touch a lot on the Christmas tour as well. And one of the things I love about this tour too is that both of them, I think, are a really wonderful combination of busy time and free time. It's not that long of a tour, but my personal experience on this tour was it's really impressive how much you can fit in to a short stay to New York and have those included attractions, and then have that free time to choose what you'd like to do on your own as well too. Well, I told you I'd share with you some of the reasons I like the city so much. For one thing, it is a surprisingly clean city. If you haven't been to New York and you're thinking of going, something that you too will probably be impressed with, the fact that it is quite a clean city. Another one too, and this really struck me, it is a very friendly city. And I'd say surprisingly friendly, but personally, I felt guilty when I visited New York that I didn't think it was going to be a friendly city. I felt bad about that. And you know what? It really was a friendly city. And I remember one day being on a street in Manhattan and just, standing near a newspaper stand and overhearing this just friendly chit chat between the guy at the newspaper stand and his his customer. And I thought, oh, they're really nice to each other too. They're not just doing it because I'm a tourist. And that really struck me as well, the friendliness of New York. So that's really something I wanted to share with you. And something else is that it is actually considered a very safe city, certainly one of the safest cities in the US. And no doubt that wasn't always the case. And no doubt there are certainly still areas of the city that are not as safe. But the areas that are really the, for lack of a better word, the touristy areas of the city, those really are safe, and they are very well maintained with friendly police officers keeping an eye out. Certainly there are still things like pickpocketing, which you have to watch out for, as you do in any city while you're traveling, but it actually is quite a safe city. Here's one more reason why I like New York so much: great food. I love experiencing destinations through their food and drink, and this is a great destination for that. The opportunities are really endless. I would call it literally a great smorgasbord of food, whether you want to go to a cute little diner. Maybe later Leanne's going to touch on the pizzerias in the city, around 1,600 pizzerias. Maybe you just stop to grab something at a food truck, or a fancy restaurant or a pub. Or I remember, walking into a little corner store, which, in Canada, it would be kind of the equivalent of like a 7-Eleven, nothing special to eat there, and walking in this beautiful selection of, fresh veggies and salads all laid out for you to take in your to-go box. So just incredible opportunities for fantastic food. And of course, there's just so much to do in New York City. So we're going to get started talking about that. And one more thing I really should mention as well, too, as we start, is how incredibly walkable the city is. The hotels that we use on our tour, both in the fall and at Christmas time, are in fantastic locations in Times Square. I'll touch on that a little bit more later on as well, too. But such a great location, and you would just be amazed how much you can walk to right from the hotel in Times Square. So really impressive. In our first slide of the presentation, everyone, top left-hand corner, we're looking at Wall Street. We also have a couple of pictures in the center and the lower right of the magnificent Empire State Building. When we go up to the top of the rock, we're going to be seeing a fantastic view of the Empire State Building. You're going to get some great pictures just like that, the one you're seeing in the center of the screen. So you'll be able to get that shot as well. And then in the lower left and also in the upper right, of course, what we're looking at is the 9/11 Memorial. You will definitely have a chance to see the 9/11 Memorial, and then later on in the tour, during your free time, you'll have a chance, if you wish to visit the actual museum as well. Yeah, it's really an incredible stop, and even just stopping to see the memorial where the Twin Towers were. And I think even for us as Canadians, there's no doubt that we all remember exactly where we were, and we all have a story to tell about that moment when we first heard about the collapse of the Twin Towers back in 2001. I was actually on my way with a Westworld group trying to cross the border to Rochester, New York that day, which, needless to say, we did not do. We stayed in Ontario that day. So I know I have a lot of memories from that day, as every one of us does. So being there and paying our respects at that tribute is a really special opportunity. So I really believe that one of the best things when we're traveling is the opportunity to have a local step-on guide join us for a tour. And I know that's something I love with the tours I guide for Westworld. And not only that, when I'm traveling by myself or with family or friends overseas, it's something I always make a point of doing as well. And that is having a local tour or catching a local tour. So that is something that we absolutely do during our stay in New York City. And you'll absolutely see see sites like the Empire State Building and other things besides these, of course, Little Italy, Chinatown, Greenwich Village, just to name a few. Gosh, I remember, seeing the plaza where, where John Lennon and Yoko Ono lived, and of course, Central Park. There's just so much. It's absolutely endless. All the things that we will see and do, and we'll start out our stay with a city tour of New York. Okay, perfect. All right, moving on to the next slide, everyone. We are talking now specifically about the December Christmas time tour that we do. Now, these lights that you're seeing, if you're not familiar, this is in a part of the city in Brooklyn, in fact, called Dyker Heights. And Dyker Heights is actually unique in that these are single family homes, where most of New York City, that is not the case, but it's actually single family private homes in Dyker Heights. Now, when it comes to Christmas lights in New York City, a lot of you, like myself, would typically think of, Rockefeller Plaza, Rockefeller Center. And I suppose maybe a lot of that is based on movies and TV shows as well, too. But what some people don't realize is that the best Christmas lights in the city, and certainly the locals in New York know this, is that the best Christmas lights in the city is in the area called Dyker Heights out in Brooklyn. And so for anyone who is up to it, of course, this is an evening tour. So, and we'll get back fairly late because we have to go out to Brooklyn for the tour. But then you have a chance just to walk around, and it's not just a street or two, it's the entire neighborhood is lit up. And there are some specific houses that you'll want to see. Back in the 1980s, a lady named Lucy Spada started the whole thing. So her house is still considered to be one of the most magnificent. There's another one called the Forest of Lights, where all of the trees, and many trees in that particular yard, are lit from root to tip, to the tips of the branches. So that's a really special one as well. Another one which features animatronics as well. They call it Toyland, so that's a fun one. And the mayor's home in Dyker Heights as well, which is famous for all the giant inflatables on that lawn. So yeah, just a fun way to spend a festive December evening and really get in the spirit of Christmas. So that's Dyker Heights in Brooklyn that you're looking at. What you're looking at in this screen, I'm sure it goes without saying, but regardless of whether you're doing a fall tour with Westworld to New York, or whether you're doing the Christmas tour, this is absolutely something that you are going to see, that we are going to do, because this is a very, very important stop on anyone's itinerary to New York. This is an absolute icon, of course, of New York City. You can't think about it without thinking about the Statue of Liberty that you're looking at. Great shot there that Leanne's put on the right hand side of the screen with the ferry over to the islands, because of course you have to take the ferry over to the islands. The islands are called Ellis and Liberty Islands. So Ellis Island, of course, millions of immigrants arrived at Ellis Island, and Liberty Island was actually not always called that. It was called Bedloe's Island, and it was renamed Liberty Island just back in 1965. But Liberty and Ellis Island were made part of the Statue of Liberty National Monument under proclamation by President Lyndon B. Johnson. And that happened back in 1956. So that was kind of an interesting fact about that as well, too. So we will be taking a day trip over to Liberty and Ellis Island to see the Statue of Liberty and spend some time over there. Interesting, too, the trip over to the Statue of Liberty has been closed a couple times. Well, of course, it was closed in 2020 with the COVID pandemic. Back in 2012, it was closed as well, too. Hurricane Sandy, if you'll recall that. And as a result, and all the damage that was created over there from Hurricane Sandy, the Statue of Liberty and the visit to Ellis Island and Liberty Island were not possible until I believe it was June June of 2013 when it reopened. So it has actually been closed a couple of times. And just a fun fact or two about the Statue of Liberty itself. It was gifted from France to New York and to the United States in 1886. That's the year when that happened. And goes without saying, I'm sure, but it's considered to be a celebration of American independence. So yeah, I have a sheet in front of me because there's a couple of lines from a poem I want to share with you. And because our tour is not that long, I have time to share a couple stories and even a little quote from a poem with you this evening. This poem that you can actually see this quote at the Statue of Liberty was written in the 1880s by a lady named Emma Lazarus. And the quote is taken from her poem called The New Colossus. And the quote goes, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." I thought that was really lovely. And I'm a poetry lover. Those of you who know me personally certainly know that about me. But I thought it was lovely. And that golden door is really essentially referring to, the land of opportunity for all those immigrants arriving on Ellis Island. So yeah, I thought that was really lovely. And then also, before we carry on to the next screen, everyone, have a look in the bottom left-hand corner. And that is the view from the top of the rock. So we are including for you, of course, the same day that we go out to the Statue of Liberty. We are taking you up to see what they call the top of the rock, Rockefeller Center. So number 30 Rockefeller Center. When I think of New York City, I think of so many different movies and so many different TV shows. If you're familiar with the sitcom 30 Rock, well, that is the nickname for number 30 Rockefeller Center. And from the top, there's actually 3 floors that have observation decks on the top of the building. Incredible 360-degree view from the viewing platforms. And you're going to have a magnificent view all around New York City. And as I was saying, you're going to get a great shot of the Empire State Building as well, too. And I've been places in my travels where I've been quite intrigued with Art Deco style of architecture. And the Rockefeller Center is designed in that particular style. Incidentally, just a couple of numbers for you. It is 66 stories tall, opened in 1933, and it's 850 feet. So there you go. And that's our visit up to Top of the Rock. Now we're going back to a topic that is very specific to our Christmas time tour to New York City. And this is going to be a lot of fun for those of you joining us on the Christmas tour. This is the Rockette's Christmas Spectacular show that takes place at Radio City Music Hall. And actually this has been going on since the year 1933. And I have some really interesting things to tell you about the Rockettes and the show itself. But it is, of course, traditional Christmas and humor and music and singing and dancing. So a wonderful show presented each year, of course, at Radio City Music Hall since it first began back in 1933. And there are 140 performers that are a part of the show, and the show itself is 90 minutes long. Now, for some interesting fun facts for you about the show. Considering the show has been going since 1933, relatively speaking, there hasn't been that many women who have been a part of the show. And I say women because it is, of course, all women. The Rockettes has traditionally always been all female. But it's considered to be one of the longest and most, the most steady, that's the word I was looking for, the steadiest showbiz gig in New York City, which means, in other words, a lot of these women get called back year after year. And that's why only about 3,000 women to this date have ever been Rockettes in New York City. Of course, it's a seasonal gig too. So it's said that a lot of them, off season are dancers, of course, as you would imagine, yoga teachers as well. Some of them are teachers. A lot of them are mothers as well. well too. The youngest you can be as a Rockette is 18 years old. And they are very specific about the heights too, as you can imagine they would be for a Rockette. You can't be any shorter than 5'6", and you can't be any taller than 5'10" and a half. So there you go. And interesting too, that it's only since the late 1980s, I believe it was 1987 to be exact, that there's actually been Rockettes that were not Caucasian, excuse me. And only in 2019, the first time there was a Rockette with a visible physical disability. And that was a girl who was missing her left hand. So there you go. Just some what I thought were pretty interesting fun facts about the Rockettes. And that is the beautiful Radio City Music Hall with that marquee, which really kind of strikes a presence in downtown New York as well, too, with that wraparound marquee there. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Leanne. Okay. Mentioned earlier that the tour has a really lovely mixture of busy time and free time. So as we move on to the there we go. Perfect. So now, once again, we are talking a bit more about specifically the Christmas time tour that we offer to New York City. I was also saying earlier how incredibly walkable New York is, which means things that you're looking at in this screen right now are things that you can actually walk to from our hotel property. And you're looking at that skating rink in Rockefeller Plaza in the top left-hand corner. I was saying earlier, I can't help but think rather about various TV shows and movies when I think about New York City. And anyone else out there besides me that loves the movie Elf at Christmas time, I think about the skating scene in Rockefeller Plaza there. So that's what you're looking at. And hey, you know, what a fun thing for you to do as well. You could actually go skating if you want to in Rockefeller Plaza. So that'd be a fun Christmas time activity. And so is shopping, of course. You're looking at those wonderful Christmas markets. Got a couple of great shots there, bottom left and top right as well. And I can't stress enough, this is stuff you can actually walk to from the hotel. So what a wonderful thing to do during the free time. And maybe if you don't want to spend any money, hey, just window shopping. And that is spectacular, to say the least, in New York City at Christmas time as well. So there's a great shot of that in the bottom right-hand screen too. So so much to do in New York City, whether you're going to a show, we're going to talk about that in just a moment, whether you're just doing some sightseeing tour or whether you are shopping. I have had some fun shopping in New York City, no doubt about that. So yeah, it's definitely a fun place to shop no matter what time of the year it is. Okay, and moving on to the next slide here, everyone. We do have a very special Broadway show included for you as well, too. And the Broadway show that you're looking at, I'm sure there's some of you watching tonight who have seen this show already. It's called Come From Away. And I have to be honest, I have not seen Come From Away yet, and I desperately want to see this show. Leanne has seen this show, so she can certainly tell you about it from experience. But everyone I know who has seen the show Come From Away has absolutely raved about how incredible it is. And so I'm really pleased to tell you that we are including Come From Away as a Broadway show that you will all get to see. And again, I'm sure many of you listening tonight know the premise behind it and what it's actually about. But I can't tell you as good as the description itself of Come From Away. I love this description. So one more time, if you'll humor me, I just want to share a little paragraph with you. And it goes like this. Come From Away is based on the true story of when the isolated community of Gander, Newfoundland played host to the world. What started as an average day in a small town turned into an international sleepover when 38 planes carrying thousands of people from across the globe were diverted to Gander's airstrip on September 11th, 2001. Undaunted by culture clashes and language barriers, the people of Gander cheered the stranded travelers with music and open bar and the recognition that we're all part of a global family. Such a lovely description of that show. And so, yeah, kind of in keeping with what we were talking about a little while ago about the 9/11 memorial, it's kind of special that we're able to include the Broadway show Come From Away for you as well. Fantastic. Okay. So moving on to our next slide here, everyone. As I say, can't say it enough. So many things that you can see and do in New York City. This would be a fun thing to do. I would certainly recommend this on your fall tour. We're looking at some fall shots here. Typically, October is often when that fall tour goes with Westworld to New York. How about a fun horse and carriage ride in Central Park? That's a pretty special thing. Central Park is really impressive to see. I know something that I wanted to do when I was there was go running in Central Park because I'm a runner, so I did that. But having the opportunity for a horse and carriage ride would be a really nice way to spend a bit of time for sure. Now, if you just have a look in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. So you're looking at the playbill for some of the Broadway shows. There are so many Broadway shows to see in New York City. Talk about endless. And something that I really like that we do on our fall tour to New York is you can actually purchase the tour to New York with the Broadway shows included that we have as part of the tour or not. Maybe they're just not shows that you want to see, you know, or maybe you've already seen them somewhere else and you want to do something different instead. So you can actually purchase the tour with or without the Broadway shows, but endless opportunities for different shows to see. You are looking at a shot in the center of Times Square. And again, our hotel is just an incredible location in downtown Manhattan, right in Times Square. And then if you look over the large picture on the right-hand side of the screen, this is the hop on, hop off bus. And this is a fantastic way to see the city. Obviously, as you can see, it's an open double-decker bus. It's a 48-hour bus pass that you get. Your tour director, whomever your Westworld director is in the tour, will explain to you in detail how the hop on, hop off bus pass works. And it's easy to get around. It really is. And maybe in just a short while, Leanne can touch on this too for you, but just how easy even the subway system is to take in New York. But on this hop on, hop off bus, it also is really easy to get around. So you can get off at the various stops. Maybe there's something you want to go back to. As I mentioned earlier, the 9/11 Museum. That might be something some of you may wish to do, but very, very easy to navigate. The American Museum of Natural History. There's another one that some of you might wish to do during your stay. Or maybe you don't want to get off at all. Maybe you want to just stay on the bus and just sightsee and see things. I actually did that when I went on the hop on, hop off bus. And you also have the option of doing it after dark. And I did that too. And I thought that was a lot of fun. It was really nice just to cruise around in the top deck, you know, bring a jacket with you. It is fall of the open air bus and just see the sights after dark. It's pretty cool. So those are some thoughts for you. And on a personal note too, just a couple of things I was going to share with you as well. I remember sitting on the top deck of that bus and thinking, all I can smell is really good food. So yeah, just so much good food. And at one point I just thought, yeah, I can smell good food from up here. So on the topic of food, I have a lovely memory of being in New York City I want to share with you since it's a relatively short presentation tonight and I have time to do that. A tour I was on to New York for Westworld. This was the second day of the tour. We got back from a Broadway show and it had some challenges that day. I had a few pieces of missing luggage from my group and it finally showed up that afternoon. And so we were very busy dealing with that and or I was, and then we ran off to a Broadway show that evening and had a lovely time there. Well, we got back to the hotel quite late at night and I hadn't had time to eat all day. I heard of people who forget to eat. That never happens to me, but I do run out of time to eat. And that day I just didn't have time to eat. And the restaurant in the hotel, I forget what floor it was on, but it was quite high up, was still open. It was about 11 p.m. by this time. And I just wanted to sit and relax after a busy day. And they took me into the restaurant and sat me at this gorgeous table because, again, there was nobody there. It was very late at night, but the restaurant was open. And I sat at my table and enjoyed a glass of wine and a lovely meal, chatted with my waiter, looking out at that incredible classic scene of Times Square, just what you're looking at in those shots right there. And how lovely to have that crazy opportunity to have that table looking at Times Square. And I remember the waiter actually telling me at one point what that table I was sitting at cost to reserve on New Year's Eve. And I forget what it was, but I think it was something like around $2,000. And I'm sure that didn't include any food or drink. I'm pretty sure that was just to reserve that table. So that was something that struck me on a personal note. And yeah, it was just a really, really nice memory of something quirky that happened to me in New York. So that's Times Square.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Coral, for sharing your experience and the tour of New York. I'm just going to quickly touch on, I was in New York a couple years ago, and I just want to quickly touch on all the things there are to do. Like Coral said, it's very walkable city. There is tons of things to do there. If you're adventurous and want to, ride like a local, get a train pass and try out the subway. It's very easy to get around with, but you do have those hop on, hop off passes as well to use. So make use of those during the fall tour. In the top left-hand corner, you will see the Twin Towers lit up. Those are the memorial pools. And that is also where the 9/11 museum is. And Coral did briefly touch on this. If you haven't been there already, I would strongly recommend that you do go. It is a very emotional place, but it's very as Coral said too. We all remember where we were, and so just seeing some of the remnants from that, some of the actual firefighters' helmets and the fire trucks and all that kind of things in the museum, and listening to the recordings being played over the speakers. It's very interesting to see that. And then, of course, the Come From Away show was incredible. Highly recommend that show. So I'm glad that you guys get to see that on this tour. You'll also see Grand Central Station. That's in the top right-hand corner. It's got a beautiful blue turquoise ceiling. It's just something. It's in so many movies. It's definitely a spot that you want to check out. One of those iconic New York spots to visit. In the bottom left-hand, you'll see that's the American Museum of Natural History. Again, it's in a few movies, notably the Night at the Museum. So you'll see some of the scenes from there, which was pretty cool. And of course, food in New York. You can't go to New York without trying the New York pizza. So there's a photo of me in the bottom right-hand corner of a $1 slice of pizza. And, you see these pizza places everywhere. And so, you got to try a $1 slice of pizza. So you can eat for very reasonably in New York City. Like Coral mentioned, they have little shops along the way, little carts, grab a hot dog from one of the carts. There's lots always sitting around by Central Park there. And yeah, you can eat very reasonably priced, or of course, as expensive as you'd like as well. So another thing that I did when I was there, I was a big fan of the Cake Boss show. So I took the train over to New Jersey under the river and went to Carlo's Bake Shop. So that is something that you can do in your free time as well. If you're feeling adventurous, head over to the state of New Jersey, grab a slice of cake or a cookie from the Carlo's Bake Shop. Yeah, but there is so many things to do in New York, take a stroll through Central Park, down Fifth Avenue, see the Plaza Hotel. There's just so many iconic spots to visit. And that wraps us up for the evening. So I just wanted to thank you all for joining us tonight, and we hope you found our presentation informative. We will be following up with you with an email in the next day that will have the link to this itinerary, and as well as other tours that we offer. You can also visit our website at westworldtours.com for more information on this tour and other tours that we are offering. I should mention this tour, the Christmas Spectacular Tour, is offered this December from December 11th to the 16th. And we hope you can join us. Our fall tour is always offered in October. So of course, we will be doing that next year. So 2022, you can watch for that tour. If you have any questions, we will get to questions here shortly, but if you have any questions after the presentation is over or on any of our other tours, you can email us at information@westworldtours.com. You can visit us on Facebook, our website, or you can contact your local travel agent. So now we will get into some of the questions here. Okay, Cindy asks, what are the details of this tour? Okay, so this is a 5-day tour. Oh, yeah. Sandra said I answered her question. Yeah, so the tour is December 11th to the 16th. And where are flights from? So we offer flights from all over Western Canada. So we have out of Regina, Saskatoon, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver. Sometimes we offer out of Victoria. And if there is a city that you don't see on our website, you can just send us an email and we can help you out with that. And get the flights for you. Do you offer the Christmas tour every year? So yes, Linda, we do offer this Christmas tour every year. Of course, last year we did not. Yes, Winnipeg is a location that we fly out of as well. Yeah, so. Okay, and I think that's all the questions we had. But let me just have a look here. Okay, well, thank you. Oh, there is one here. Okay, Karen asked, you mentioned that various attractions were close to the hotel and walkable. Approximately how far would it be to some of the attractions? So the hotel is located in Times Square. So obviously Times Square would be right there. Fifth Avenue is a few blocks away, where all the big named brand name shops are. Central Park, I think, is probably a few blocks as well to the edge of the park, and then you can walk through it. Of course, you can take a horse and carriage ride through it as well. If I remember correctly, Grand Central Station is only a few blocks. There's the New York Public Library, which is really beautiful as well. You can go into. It's had lots of movies filmed in there. I'm trying to think off the top. Coral, do you recall?
I was going to say, talking about Central Park, I remember it being probably roughly about a 10-minute walk to Central Park.
Okay.
Close.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably not much more than 10 minutes. The Ed Sullivan Theater, just for example, being literally right around the corner from the hotel, and some of the Broadway shows being literally right around the corner, or some right across the street even from the hotels. A lot of things were really close. Yeah.
Yeah, Radio City Music Hall is right around the corner. Rockefeller Center isn't too far from Times Square. So there's lots right in the area.
The 9/11 Memorial Museum a little bit farther. That would be one.
That one's a little bit further. So that one you may, with the city tour on the second day, I believe it is, you will end the city tour at the 9/11 Memorial. So if you wish that day to visit the museum, you can do that as well. And I believe the hop on, hop off buses will get close to there or drop off at that at the museum as well. So that is always an option. So yeah, don't forget about those hop on, hop off passes, because those will get you around to all the sites as well. So, and then of course we visit Brooklyn and with the tour. So the Brooklyn Bridge,
Yeah.
that one is, it's a little ways. I'm thinking that there probably is a hop on, hop off bus stop fairly close by there, but it is a nice walk across the bridge if you have time to do that or feeling energetic. It is a long, fairly long walk, but it's really quite nice. So, okay. Where do we get the pricing? So you can find the pricing on our website. It all depends on which city you're flying out of. Sometimes the prices are a little bit different for the different cities. So you can see that on our website at westworldtours.com, or you can contact your local travel agent. All right, I think that answers all the questions. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Coral, for joining us this evening and sharing the New York tour with everyone.
Pleasure to be
We
here.
hope you all have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone. Fantastic tour, and I'm sure you would love it. And thanks for joining us on this summer evening. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
Take care, everyone.